All right. So, one thing that Heather mentioned that I think is very valuable is the fact that just the smallest increase in any service, anything that you do, has the potential to be a multiplier. And it's not just an addition, it's a multiplier. And anytime you go and, if you work on your calculator on your phone and you accidentally hit a plus sign instead of multiplication, it freaks you out because it's not the right number. It was supposed to be bigger. So multiplication in business is important. What I'd like to talk with you about today is how the connections that we make with people is going to have an impact, a multiplication factor on how your business goes and some of the closing rates and just the ability to interact with people and make better connections. So what I'd like to talk about is the value of awareness. And when you're looking at awareness, it's about yourself and others. So John Maxwell says that you must know yourself to grow yourself. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge John Maxwell buff. I'm one of the team members, and I've gone through multiple trainings with them, and it's what I love to do. And I truly believe that growing ourselves is one of the best things that we can do as individuals. But to do that, you have to know yourself, and that means you have to have a level of awareness first and foremost. All right, so a while back in 1928, Dr. William Marston, he discovered and implemented the DISC style. And he published that in his book called The Emotions of Normal People. And now I have not read that book. I've looked at little tidbits of it, but I've got so many books I'm reading that hasn't made it onto my shelf yet. But what I've read out of that is pretty interesting because he talks about each of these styles. And the styles are going to be, obviously it says here, dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. So within each one of those, what's interesting is that they have a correlation with our personality. These are behavioral styles, and they correlate with our personalities. And oftentimes people, they may get the two confused, or they may think they're separate, but they do go hand in hand. Because how you behave and how you're wired is going to impact how you react to things and how you engage with people. So this right here I thought was a pretty interesting slide. So out of this, you see boxes. Now, one thing that I want to caution you on is that when we talk about personality styles, we talk about behavior traits, it's not about putting people in a box. So just because, like for myself, I'm a DIC, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but out of that, what that means is, and it says that I'm a chancellor and that I like to mix business with fun to get things done. And that doesn't mean that I am only going to exhibit those traits out of a D, I, or a C. We all have a little bit of everything. It's just that some of those are going to be a little more dominant. And we'll talk a little bit more about it, but just keep in mind that you do not want to put people in a box. I'll give you a quick story. So here a while back, I was ironically on LinkedIn, and I was engaging with a person. We were talking about personality assessments, and I ended up taking her on as a coach and did an assessment with her because when she did an assessment previously, her boss used that to basically railroad her out of the company. So they looked at that and they felt as though she had some personality traits that were not compatible with her job. So based off of this, when they just looked at it, they said, well, you're not very good with people according to your personality assessment. And so they took away clients from her and they put her back in a cubicle somewhere. But she loved engaging with people. Just because her assessment said that she was a little bit more introverted didn't mean that she didn't engage with people. But they used that assessment to basically route her out, and she ended up having to do a lawsuit against that company for unfair termination. So don't put people in boxes. That's one thing that I'll caution you on in any assessments that you do, and even yourself. It doesn't mean that if you feel or you come out as a strong, whatever it is, influencer, it doesn't mean that that's the only trait you have and you can't do anything else. So when you're in an environment, it's important, again, to not just to know yourself, but to know other people. When you're in a boardroom or you're working with clients, in whether they're sitting in a chair getting their hair colored, or you're working with them on financial investments, or you're doing massages, or you're doing some development work or some design work for them, or whatever it is, you have to know your people. If you don't know them or get to know them, you're not going to be able to meet their needs. And what better way to do that than to know some of their triggers, some of their personality, their behavioral styles. And I can tell you one thing. I did a workshop with some real estate folks here a while back. And one of the things that we were talking about was that when you go into a house, if you just strategically work your way through the house and you show the amazing gourmet kitchen, or you show the awesome bathroom, or like in our house, they went downstairs and they showed me the full screen TV that was up on the wall with the projector and the wet bar, and oh my gosh, I was in heaven. So based off of that, the real estate agent would know that there's certain things that are going to be triggers for me. If somebody's just focused on going in and they're looking at the reveal on the doors and they're looking at the drawers to make sure they go in just right, you're going to see here in a minute that that's going to fall into a particular style. So when you show another house, you're probably going to want to show the details of the house. You're going to say, look how fine the craftsmanship is on the cabinets. Look at the hardwood floors that are in here. Look how the joints are. Look at the code base. All this stuff is how you're going to know your people. If you know that somebody is maybe a little more reserved in how they invest, you're not going to set them up with a high-risk fund, because they're not going to go for it, because they're going to be scared. I'm a risker. My wife is not. We were just looking at our financial stuff the other day with our advisor, and he could tell. He looked at our funds, and I've got mine in more of the riskier stuff, and she's got hers in all the safe stuff, which actually works out pretty well because we're balanced. But I made a pretty good profit this year, and she didn't make as much profit this year because mine was a little more risky. But that's all in knowing your people. And I can guarantee you that as you look at this table, each one of those individuals is different. They could have primary styles, but they're going to be different, but they're all going to have an aspect of each style. So when we connect with people, we have the opportunity to influence them. And that is really what everything is about, whether you're in business or if you are interacting with people at your church or at home or anywhere. It is about influence. Especially if you're a business owner, it is about influence. Because if you can't influence people, you're not going to have those opportunities to have an impact on them and to potentially have return clients or to have them want to invest in you more, because things are just not connecting. So if you have any questions about how to increase communication or how to make a connection, feel free to talk with me about it. I'd love to share some more insight with you there. So when you see this right here, what do you think I'm going to ask you? What's a question I might ask? That's an elevator, right? Okay, well, going up or down could be good. So let me ask you this. We're going to do a little scenario. So you're standing in front of that elevator. You're at the greatest hotel you've ever been in, or wherever you're at. You're standing in front of this elevator. The door opens. Are you hoping there's somebody inside, or that it's completely vacant? If you're hoping that somebody's inside, chances are you're going to go in, you're going to say, hello, how are you doing today? And you're going to push your button and you're going to talk a little bit, and they're going to maybe think, my God, why don't they shut up? Or perhaps, maybe they're the chatty people too and they want to continue talking with you. Or you may be that person that stands outside of that and you say, I sure hope there's nobody in there because I don't feel like talking with anybody. And if there is somebody in there, what are you going to do? You're going to go to that back corner. You're going to maybe hit your button. You're going to see if it's already been pushed, so you don't have to ask anybody to push it. And you're going to stand in that back corner and you're not going to say a word. So what that tells you is whether you're a little more outgoing, and she's back there laughing like, you're one of those for sure, right? Which one are you? So you get a little crazy. You just go in, get in your corner, look down at the floor, hope your button's already pushed so you don't have to say anything. That means that people, just like introvert, extrovert, is going to be determined whether they're more outgoing or a little more reserved. Neither one is wrong. People may say that, well, if you're an introvert, there's something wrong there. If you're an extrovert, there's something. Everybody has certain styles. When you got to do Myers-Briggs, I am an ESTJ or an ISTJ, but I'm at the high end of the introvert, and I'm the one that they always pick to do the talking for our group. So I call myself the black sheep of the introverts because I actually like to engage with people. So when you look at the DISC style, you have D, I, S, and C, dominant, influencer, the steady, and compliance. The D and the I is going to be a little more outgoing. The S and the C are going to be a little more reserved. And here in just a second, I'll go into each one of these and I'll explain to you kind of what some of the tendencies are for each one. And I can tell you that when you fill out your little card that's in front of you today, I'm going to send you an electronic file that has all of these styles on there and some of the different communication tricks and what have you that you can go with. So make sure you fill out your card so I can get that to you. So we look at the D's. These are going to be your more dominant folks. They're the ones that are going to be a little more quicker in their decisions. They're definitely going to be more decisive. They're going to be direct, and they are results oriented, and they seek control. I can tell you right now that through my years in the military, I have always been in the D category. And there's a lot, I would say the large majority of military people have a bit of that in them. But it doesn't mean it's the only thing. I've changed a little over the years, but this is one of those areas. And only 3% of the population, they did a survey, I think it was back in the early 2000s, they did a survey here in America, and 3% of the American population fall into the D category. 3%, that's not very much. So how many people think they might fit into this one? And you've got some questions you can answer on your sheet there if you want to see where you're at or make a couple notes. The next one is I, the influencers. They make up 11% of the population, and they're going to be the ones that are a little more persuasive. So, and they're going to be spontaneous, friendly. They want to be in the spotlight. So you have that person when you go into a bar or you go into a social setting, and they walk in and it's like, I have arrived. And they're the ones that are going to be going around talking to people and making those connections. They may be the life of the party. Wherever the crowd's at, that's where they want to be. There's people that are like that. And now when you balance the different styles together, it really brings out a unique combination. So remember earlier I said that I'm a D, I, and a C. My D's really high, the I's down here, and the C's kind of up in this area. So remember I said that I'm a person that likes to mix business with fun to get things done. And so the fun is where the I comes in, because I do like to engage with people. And I like to be a little more influential and outgoing. So 11% of the population falls in the I category. Now the next category, 69%, the silent majority. So the S's are the ones that are a little more steady. They are going to be more team-oriented. They're going to be really good at follow-through. They're going to be the dependable person in your work center. Or they're going to be the person that you know that if there's something that's got to get done, they are going to be the ones to get it done, because that is what they live by. And there's a lot more that goes into reasons why they're steady and some of their fears and stuff that come in with it. And that's what's really unique about doing an assessment, is that you can determine those things, and you can not only see that in yourself, but you see that in other people. And they really are stuck with loyalty. They are the people that are going to be there all the time. If you know that somebody's going to be at work on Friday and they're going to stay there until the end of the day and they're going to be the ones you can count on, they're probably going to be in the S category. And they really thrive on acceptance. They want to be accepted. They don't want to make anybody feel bad. They want to make sure it's kind of a kumbaya type moment. And then the last one are our C's, our compliance-oriented people. So these are the ones that, they may be a little more analytical in their mindset, or they may be really focused on details. So I would say that people that are in the financial investment industry are more in the C category, and they have a bit of that in them because they want to make sure that the numbers are right, that the percentages are correct, and that they're going to get the return that they're supposed to get. Because if it doesn't, it's going to drive them nuts. Because all the calculations said that it should have been a 13% return on investment. And it wasn't, it was only 9, right? It's going to drive you nuts, isn't it? So the compliance-oriented folks are definitely going to plan things out, and they're going to be, that is their thing. So if you want somebody that's going to be on time and they're going to have everything done just right and focus on those results, and they want to have things perfect, this is where your perfectionist would come in to the C category. So if you notice, 17% in this area, 69% were in the S category, 11% in the I category, and 3% in the D. So you can see that within down on the bottom side of that disc model, those that are a little more reserved, they are making up a huge portion of our population. Well, if you don't know that, no matter what clients you're working with, no matter what family members, even your own kids, students, if you're a teacher, this is something that's really important. We just opened up doing student assessments because it's important to know where students are at. And I tell you, I wish I would have known years ago or had a DISC assessment to do with my kids, because I would have handled things totally different. I would have managed and I would have done things differently when I was trying to connect with them, especially on schoolwork, and not being the person saying, just get it done, it's got to be right. Knowing how to engage with them would have been very effective. So it kind of cuts out a little bit on the bottom there, but building effective relationships is important because it increases your connections, and which increases opportunities. And when you have opportunities, the world is endless. There is so much that you can do when you have the opportunity in front of you. And if you can have increased opportunities, that means increased clients, which can mean increased revenue. So I tell you, I'm often asked how people can find out more information about doing a DISC assessment or learn more about themselves to become better communicators. Well, what I'd like to do is I would be more than happy to set up a complimentary call with you to be able to go over this and just see what I could do to help you understand how to communicate more effectively, how to connect with people. And I think that if you do that, and you know yourself, then you're able to grow yourself. And if you can grow yourself, you're able to connect with people a lot more effectively. So if you have a QR reader, a scan reader, you can scan the code up there. Otherwise, please make sure you fill out the contact card. I would love to get the cards to you, and I've got a paper version here just so you can see what they are. So you're going to have, it's going to talk about each of the styles. It's going to give a little bit on how to communicate and how to connect with each one of them. So if you fill out your card, I'll be able to get an electronic version of this to you. And I think it'll be a good resource, a good asset for you to use as you're learning how to connect with people more effectively. There's contact information if you need to get that. And I've got business cards up here I can share with you afterwards. And we really thank you for being here with us today and allowing us to add value to you. Thank you very much.
Great.